You mean the outlines?
Yes.
The basic, there are 4 or 5 main foundations of the philosophy of Ayurvedic science. Just as we have the philosophy of homeopathy, we have a different philosophy which is quite similar to homeopathy. There is much similarity between the homeopathic philosophy and Ayurvedic philosophy. First of all, the Ayurvedic proposition is that we have 5 layers of existence. That is to say, the 5 different bodies in this constitution. The first is called the physical. It is technically called the body of physical matter. Then the second is called the body of pulsations, which is almost equivalent to the vital body in homeopathy. I will explain each of these. The third layer is called the mental body. The fourth layer is called the body of intelligences. And the fifth is called the body of experience. In fact, the first 4 layers are made up of the subtle substance of the fifth. The fifth, which is called the experience body, is considered more eternal than the first 4. It exists for a much longer period than the other 4 bodies. So to say, it produces the other 4 bodies at the time of every birth. It leaves off the other 4 bodies at the time of death. But itself exists along with the indweller as the seed, from which once again the other 4 bodies germinate. This is the first proposition. The first body is what we know as our physical body. It is described as the body of tissue, the body of chemicals, and also the body of metabolism. In Sanskrit it is called Anna. Anna. Anna means that which eats and drinks, and also in the end that which is eaten and drunk away. That is the physical body. It is described as the body of effects, results. In it no causes exist, and the remaining bodies, that is the body of pulsation, the body of intelligences, the body of mind, these 3 bodies are said to be the bodies of causes. So causes exist on the vital body, mental body, and the body of intelligence, and the results exist on the physical body. And on the physical, and the fifth body, which is called the body of experience, neither causes nor results exist. That is how it is described. And what we call the chain actions of nature and the chain actions created by the individuals by their behavior with food, drink and habits. They are both put together called karma. The first half is called planetary karma, that is of the planet Earth. That is the nature, karma of nature. And the second one is called individual karma. That is our behavior with our food, drink and habits. So the second one is produced by us, and it stimulates a chain of causes and effects that are different from the evolutionary causes and effects. And the causes and effects produced by nature are natural. The causes and effects produced by the individual are also natural when he follows the law of nature. And when he follows his own likes and dislikes, they are not natural. And the result is they produce a different chain action of karma, which may result in a type of consequence of what he does. And the consequence will be in the form of suffering, which indicates the misbehavior towards his food, drink, etc. So it is individual karma that can produce disease, whereas natural karma never produces disease, because it is described in Ayurveda and in other sciences, allied sciences also, that nature is essentially progressive and it has nothing negative in it, and there are no cross currents in nature unless the individual consciousness produces its own cross current. This is one aspect, that is the origin of disease. And the third proposition is that the body of pulsations has three centers, functional centers working in it. Three functional centers working in it.
En activité.
We are two and they are three. They can be translated into English in the following way. The one can be translated as the center of materialization. The second is the center of dematerialization or combustion. The third is the center of pulsation. These are the three main centers that are continuously working in the living organism. They are working as three centers of whirlpools. The first working out the production of the various tissue cells in the organism and the classifications of the different tissue cells. So it is called the center of tissue building. It is also called the creative center. The second one produces the activity of utilizing the tissue, that is the combustion. For example, the oxidation in the lungs and the digestion with the help of the various acids and the conversion of energy into calories of heat while we are working. These are all caused by the second center. And the excretion activity is also belonging to the second center. So it is called the center of destruction. The first center causes the intake of food, drink and respiration, and also light, sound, ideas and thought, receiving phenomena. The second center produces the transmitting phenomena, that is breathing out and the stool and the urine and the transpiration, such phenomena, and the speech, expressing thoughts, All these belong to the second center. And the third center is the center of pulsations. It produces movements of an alternating nature. The proposition is that space has an eternal property. That is the property of expansion and contraction alternate. Together put is called pulsation. And whatever is being produced in space is bound to have this property of pulsation. For example, the solar system pulsates alternately through millions of years. And each planet has the pulsation, each atom has the pulsation, and each cell of the tissue has its own pulsation, and each unit of the living organism has its own pulsation. For example, our respiration is one example of pulsation. Our heartbeat is another example. And the various actions of the peristalsis in the various organs is another example. So this property of pulsation has its own center within us, within the vital body, and its center approximately exists near the lungs and the heart. Near the lungs and the heart. It makes every muscle and nerve function. So every tissue has its property of expansion and contraction. This center governs the functions of pulsation. The plane, it governs the understanding and social transactions. These are the three main functional centers of the organism. And when they are uniformly functioning, the respiration is uniform in its speed, and the heartbeat is uniform, and the mental activity about the daily routine inclined to maintain uniformity. That is, the person is inclined to be regular in his behavior and predictable in his way of doing things. No, people can expect what he does and how he behaves, because he is reasonable in his behavior. Yes, just like Marcel Knowlton. When he says that he comes here, I can expect that he comes here. Yes. That is how one behaves if the three centers are functioning uniformly. And from head to foot, the person experiences comfort. All postures and gestures will give him happiness and comfort. And he will not have any strange or queer sensations in any part of the body or in mind. This is what is called, and when the three centers are functioning in a healthy way, then they are understood as an equilateral triangle of forces, and the hunger and thirst are very good. The activities of the senses and the activity of sex is very good. The hours of sleep and hours of awakening are rather regular and periodic. And the functions like digestion, etc. are regular. That is the normal way. But when there is a disturbance of one of these three centers, produces a group of disorders that are characteristic of that particular center. Therefore, according to Ayurveda, we have three groups of diseases. The diseases belonging to the first group, that is creative group, they produce the various overproduction of unnecessary tissues. For example, the various catarrhal discharges from various parts of the body, the nasal and the phlegm, yes, and from the throat and bronchi, and from the lungs, and from the eyes, from the ear, like this. The discharges may be from 1, 2 or 3 places abnormal, and they may be having disagreeable features. For example, bad smell and some peculiar taste of the phlegm. Salivation also different tastes. For example, saltish or acidic or bitter, because it includes the different valuable tissues being decomposed and coming out. For example, if the glucoses are decomposed and coming out, the person will have first some sweetish taste of salivation during some hours, and then acidic taste during some hours. And if the liver or spleen is unnecessarily producing some materials, the fellow will be maybe having a bitter taste or nausea with salivations. Like this, there is a list of classification. But the group of diseases belong to the center of the tissue production, and in some cases they produce some outgrowths also in some tissue. For example, the muscle or the nodules on the nerves or the bone tissue disturbance, like the different types of calcification of the bones. Yes, these are all, they belong to one group of diseases. So diseases that are produced when the first center is disturbed. When the second center is disturbed, we will have the diseases called the wastage diseases or the emaciation type of diseases. That is loss of weight, high temperatures, dry cough, that is pulmonary tubercular type of group of diseases, and the overproduction of the secretions of the digestion resulting in acidity, lack of appetite, and also the emaciation of single parts of the body, and tissue changes in the nerve cells and the blood vessels, that is the vascular system, and the disturbance in the liquid economy of the constitution, that is the body not inviting the required quantity of water, resulting in the quantity of blood corpuscle, red corpuscles gradually decreasing, and the hemoglobin activity gradually reduced. Quantity of oxygen not being welcomed through the lungs, and also the function of the kidneys and bladder disturbed. And when the disorder is congenital, when it is not understood in childhood, after a certain age it creates a dissolution of the valuable tissues through urine, which we call the Bright's disease variety. That is diabetes mellitus, albuminuria. Yes. So all these diseases belong to the second group, called the group of eating away or consumption, combustion. Then there is the third group of diseases, when the third center is disturbed, there is a loss of peristalsis of any part of the body or any organ of the body or any particular nerve or nerves or any limb. It may also take place in a particular region of a tissue. That particular portion of the tissue ceases to live, stops to live. Gradually that part becomes dead though the person lives. So the alimentary canal has some portions lost of their peristaltic action, resulting in wind formation, yes, and congestion to the heart and the respiratory organs, pressures, and also the various cardiac diseases, functional cardiac diseases, where the nerves or the muscles of the heart will be gradually at fault, or the muscles of some place gradually lose their power to move. The various types of paralysis we see are the partial paralysis, or what we call the periatic conditions, periasis. That is temporary periasis. In English we call it periasis. That is temporarily half paralyzed conditions. Suppose the hand is capable of doing something but not fully to its capacity.
Incapacité fonctionnelle partielle, c'est ça?
Yes, paralysis. And sometimes palsy of some parts. Palsy. A part becomes dead. Skin. We call it palsy in English.
Nécrose de certaines parties.
In English they call it palsy and necrose, something like that. All these phenomena, they belong to the disease of the third center. And all the asthma type of diseases that cause disturbance in the rhythm of the respiration, they all belong to the third group of diseases. That is, when the pulsation is disturbed, it causes a disturbance in the respiratory function. When it is the beginning of a lifelong asthmatic disorder, which has nothing to do with the bronchial or the mucous conditions of the lungs. And also certain cardiac disorders are produced by the disturbance of the rhythm of the heartbeat. Unless the rhythm is re-established, it is said that these cardiac or pulmonary diseases cannot be cured purely by medicine, because it is the psychonervous centers that are disturbed, and the disturbance does not exist on the physical plane, and hence cardiac and pulmonary disease can never be cured with the physical medicine. That is what Ayurveda proposes. So there should be a skillful disturbance of the psychological centers by the specialist. The specialist should cause a psychological disturbance in the required manner by making the required changes of environment or company or the habits of living, along with medicine. And then only cardiac disease or asthmatic disease can be really cured. And the most effective disturbance can be caused by music. That is what Ayurveda says. So these diseases require something like music or some creative intelligence of the doctor to cure these diseases. Or sometimes there should be a shock therapy. So there should be a rearrangement of the psychological centers. So these are the three groups of diseases. This is only a very rough way of dealing. Each group has its own systematic
classification of diseases. And the next proposition in Ayurveda is the causes of disease exist in the vital force and the mind and the intelligence. When the results are experienced on the physical vehicle. So it is exactly the same as the homeopathic theory as far as this point is concerned. So unless the psychological and the vital disturbances are rectified, there is no possibility of a real cure even according to Ayurveda. The next proposition is there are vital appetites and intellectual appetites to the human life. That is, the vital needs and the intellectual needs. The vital needs is described as appetite and thirst, and the intellectual needs are described as the vocation, the education and the sex. If they are agreeable to the constitution, then there will be health on the intellectual and mental field. If the profession is not agreeable, he should change his profession. Otherwise, he cannot have real health re-established. Similarly, he should understand his way of sex appetite. For example, some people require too much of sex activity. Some people require only a medium activity. Some require very little. And rarely there are constitutions who do not require sex activity at all. We should properly understand the constitution, and we should not allow the constitution to live under compulsion. For example, a person who wants a daily sex life, sex contact, should select a wife who is having the same type of constitution. Otherwise, both the fellows will go into mental and nervous illness. And a person who does not require sex at all should never be forced into marriage. The fellow should be allowed to live for himself. He may prefer to live a lifelong celibate. If sex life is enforced upon such a fellow,